people. Welcome to my show, Thoughts, Action, Success. This week we talk about being a trailblazer and living your legacy. All my life I have felt different. In primary school, I so desperately wanted to fit in, but all the girls were sporty and this wasn't something that came naturally to me. In high school, I tried to fit in by getting good grades. In my early 20s, I tried to fit in and be cool by drinking and partying, even though I didn't really enjoy it. All of it was exhausting and not my truth. I can't help but look back and feel a twinge in my heart for that little girl. So desperately wanting to fit in and feel accepted. If I could go back in time, I would tell her that she is perfect exactly the way she is. From a young age, we are taught to conform and fit in. Our culture likes us to slot into tiny boxes with convenient labels. If someone stands out, they are pushed straight back down. Their gifts and uniqueness are not nurtured, and they're definitely not celebrated. But this is not the way I want and choose to live. It keeps our truth trapped inside of us and stops us shining our true light. If we really want to start living to our full potential and sharing all our incredible gifts with the world, we must start celebrating our uniqueness, not suppressing it. Being a trailblazer comes down to not caring what other people think. I've spoken about it before in previous shows, but it really is the bedrock to living your wildest dreams. I know it's not easy. I know it takes courage, but it's oh so rewarding when you do. Hanging out in your comfort zone is oh so cozy. I get it. I hung out in mine for years. It's warm in there. It feels safe and secure, and you feel in control. But if you always hang out with those voices in your head in your comfort zone, you can never upgrade your internal operating system and evolve. And deep down, you know there's no real comfort in this zone at all. In the past, I used to be petrified of exiting my comfort zone. I hated the thought of not being in control. I would go to great lengths not to put myself in any situations I couldn't control. I built up a sturdy perimeter around me and just hang out in there when it felt safe. But these days, I love getting out of my comfort zone. Don't get me wrong, I still feel really scared and those pesky voices rear their head from time to time, but it's that exact feeling that makes me feel alive. Seriously, if your current goals or projects at work don't scare the bejesus out of you, just a little bit, then you're not dreaming big enough. I get that rush of fear every time I'm about to start the show. My body heats up, my palms become sweaty, my heart begins to race. This is how I know something is important to me. If it wasn't, it wouldn't affect me. Fear is a good indicator you're on the right track. Relinquishing that sense of control is a really tricky thing to do at first. After all, controlling is one of the default settings for those voices in your head. It keeps you trapped in fear, paralyzed with uncertainty, and lets them run the show. You need to know that if you want to master your mindset, you must be aware of the areas of your life where you are trying to force things and actively decide to lay down the reins and let go. So why do we try to control things? Let me share with you 3 reasons why we get our control freak on. Number 1, we try to control things because of what we think will happen. We fear the unknown and tend to imagine the worst. Rationally, we know that what we think might happen will probably never happen. But despite this deep down knowingness, which is your truth, we choose to ignore it and try to control the outcome anyway. Number 2, we are attached to the outcomes, so we try to control the here and now. I used to try to control everything in my life, from what I said or did to how others perceived me, because I was so hell-bent on specific outcomes, like making the right impression or being well-liked. But it's not until you let go of the outcome that things actually start to fall into place. And number 3, We think surrendering to change leads to a scary unknown. This sees us holding on with white-knuckle grip to everything that's familiar and safe, in order to preserve the status quo. And the thing is, when we let go and surrender, we actually open ourselves up to possibilities that might not have shown up where we're still busy trying to control the future. When we have our control freak hat on and things don't pan out the way we want, we start to lose it. Basically, shit hits the fan and our whole life stinks. But if you weren't being a control freak in the first place, you could have opened yourself up to life unfolding whichever way it was meant to unfurl. And you'd end up feeling a whole lot calmer, saner, and more loving in the process. Let me share this with you. When you deny your truth, there is always a consequence. As soon as you feel yourself conforming, step out of that box. Connect with your truth and do what feels just right for you. Standing out and being different isn't easy. It forces you to be your authentic self. It leaves you vulnerable, and it can make you feel like you're naked on a stage in front of a packed audience. But having to deal with the discomfort far outweighs the alternative. Like I mentioned before, when you suppress your truth, it festers inside you and manifests negativity in your life and body, which can show up as a disease, illness, addiction, or just overall general unhappiness. And although it may not manifest immediately, eventually it will come up in some way, shape, or form. There's simply no escaping your truth. It's also really important to share your truth with the loved ones around you, even if this leaves you feeling vulnerable. When I ask my friends how they are and they reply, yeah, good, in a total, I'm really struggling right now tone, I call them on it. I ask them to tell me how they really are. I'm not here to have fake conversations or inauthentic relationships. I want the real deal, baby, not the fake version where the voices in your head run the show. Sharing your truth with people is beautiful, but also be mindful to who you share your truth with. Remember, everyone is on a different operating system, and not everyone is going to agree with you and your beliefs, but that's okay. Let your intuition guide you here. Feel if the other person is open and receptive to your truth, and if not, don't waste your energy. For example, there are certain things I know my sister and I have different beliefs on, but that's okay. I'm not going to force her to live my beliefs, and I'm certainly not going to try and convince her every time I see her. But is vulnerability and sharing your truth a sign of weakness? Absolutely not. It's a sign of strength, courage, and bravery. I bow down to you when you show up as the real you, as does everyone else. Vulnerability makes people lean in. Vulnerability is beautiful, raw, and truthful, and it's the secret to genuine connection and living your truth. There is nothing more attractive and sexier than when someone is showing up as their true, authentic self. Way too many of us women are terrified of showing our vulnerable sides. We're afraid of everyone thinking that we're not perfect. We think we have to do it all. We have to know all the answers, and that asking for help is a sign of weakness. Eventually, we start to develop a certain toughness around the edges in order to cope. We build up a thick skin, we harden our shell, lock off our hearts, and we become distanced from our true inner goddess. This defensive mechanism we built for ourselves is not serving us. It's just blocking us off from the truth. We need to return home to our sacred feminine that oozes softness, tenderness, and openness, to the divine goddess who resides in us all. This doesn't mean you can't also be strong, dynamic, and compelling. It means your strength is grounded in owning your own power, not in acting and pretending like everything's okay. Being strong or holding it together doesn't make you a better person. It only suppresses what's really going on. Being a true feminine goddess is your birthright. Let go of pretending and return to the truth, of who you really are. Let me share you this quote from Benjamin Franklin. If you would not be forgotten as soon as you are dead and rotten, either write things worth reading or do things worth writing. We are all here to give and be of service to the world. Ignoring your truth is a disservice to you and the planet. If today was your last day on Earth, would you be happy with the imprint you left behind? Would you have left this place in a better shape than when you found it? What legacy are you leaving? You don't need to be Mother Teresa to leave behind a legacy. You don't need to be a CEO or a famous scientist or a leader in your industry. By simply choosing love over fear and mastering your mindset, you are making an impact. Every single time you say yes to love, you are changing yourself, the people around you, and the planet as a whole. You are causing a ripple effect. So let me ask you this. How are you showing up? Right now, are you showing up as the fullest version of yourself? Or are you showing up as the cranky, half-full version of you? What do in this moment matters and is shaping what you do in this moment matters and is shaping the story and message of your entire life. Through the sadness, pain, and heartache when my dad passed on, I've also felt inspired, actually at times blown away, by the beautiful legacy that he left behind. He inspired and trained many within his industry by being his unique and authentic self. He lived his truth, and I love him for it. I knew that he was an incredible influence on people's lives, but I guess when you're close to someone, it's easy to become immune to just how huge their impact truly is. When we all come together to celebrate his life, I was so filled with so much love and awe at how many souls he had touched for the better. Through my tears, I was moved by the words that were pouring from people's hearts. I could feel their love, and I felt an enormous sense of pride in calling him my dad. This got me thinking about my own legacy. Am I going to leave this earth in the best possible shape I can? Am I acting as my higher self in every moment? Am I showing up fully and completely in every moment? Am I being unapologetically me in each moment? Or am I playing small, limiting myself and letting my mindset run the show? The Collins Dictionary defines legacy as something handed down or received from an ancestor or predecessor. However, I prefer this definition. Legacy is about sharing what you have learned, not just what you have earned. Material wealth is only a small fraction of your true legacy. The rest of it lies in making genuine and lasting contributions to others and serving causes greater than yourself. You don't just create a legacy and boom, be done with it. It's an ongoing activity that stretches on through all your days. And it's not something you create for profit or fame or recognition. Although sometimes those things do come hand in hand with it, your legacy actually stems out of a desire to contribute, to help, to create something greater than yourself in your life, something that will continue to serve the world even after you've passed on. So I pose this question to you on behalf of a planet that's hungry for the gifts that only you can share. What legacy are you creating right now? When you ponder that question, maybe some things start to seem silly or insignificant, like the fact your kids point blank refuse to clean up their bedrooms before dinner, or that your ebook design is taking 1,000,000 years, or that your partner left his wet towel on the floor yet again. In the big scheme of things, none of that really matters. It all comes back to being present and showing up fully in every moment as your best self. That's all we can ever do. So what does your best self actually look like? It's really helpful to consciously map it out. My best self is calm, grounded, present, patient, overflowing with love, honest, authentic, giving, loyal, and open, just for a start. Thoughts, action, success is all about helping you spread your wings and take flight on the journey toward creating a life bursting with white-hot love. The following affirmations will help you internalize what I have shared. As always, I encourage you to do whatever it takes to make sure you see them, remember them, and use them as much as possible. Remember, it's in the doing that you experience the biggest shifts. I'll share them with you now. The biggest gift I can give the world is to be my true, authentic self. I choose to let go of all past hurts. I choose to be a game changer and blaze my own trail. So let's recap the key takeaways from the show about being a trailblazer. We must celebrate our uniqueness and not suppress it. Remember, everything happens for a reason. When you deny your truth, there is always a consequence. Vulnerability makes people lean in. It's beautiful, raw, and truthful. There is nothing more attractive than when someone is unapologetically themselves. By simply choosing love over fear and mastering your mindset, you are making an impact and leaving a legacy. I would love you to join me again next Saturday at 10 a.m. Queensland time for the next edition of Thoughts, Action, Success, where we will talk about happiness starts with you. I currently have limited vacancies for new coaching clients and wanted to offer the opportunity to my show viewers and listeners first. If you're interested in finding out more about coaching and if it could work for you, then I'd love to talk to you and have a complimentary, no obligation discovery session so you can experience it for yourself. All my contact details are available on my Facebook page or on my website, KirstieJohnston.com. In the meantime, come on over and join me in the Thoughts, Action, Success Facebook group for some more exclusive access to further inspo action from this and previous episodes. In the meantime, have a fantastic rest of the weekend and we'll talk again soon.